So the first 6 are named after the 6 wives of Henry VIII. So we have Jane, we've got 2 Annes, and we've got 3 Catherines. And then the other 3 are just other female monarchs. So we've got Elizabeth, Victoria, and Mary. And they all love watermelon.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hey, I'm Justin Reis. Welcome to our 200-year-old home in Hampton, Connecticut. Come on in. We are here in Hampton, Connecticut in the home that I share with my partner Mark, our 2 dogs, one of which you can hear right now, our 10 fully grown chickens, our 12 baby chicks, and I think that's it for right now. Scout. Doesn't love the chicks. We bought it out of foreclosure about 4 years ago, and we've spent, pretty much the bulk of that 4 years bringing it back to life, restoring it, trying to find the right bits of its character to save and really cherish. So outside of restoring the house and raising chickens, we are sort of hobbyists by trade. I am a ceramicist, so I spend a lot of time at the pottery wheel, and Mark's a woodworker, and he makes cutting boards, sculptural pieces, some pieces of furniture, and you'll see all of those scattered throughout the house. When we first bought the house, it was, I would say, squeaky. It was drafty, lots of cobwebs. It's kind of everything you'd expect an old house to be. But beyond that, and once we sort of saw past that, it was really well built and it was well laid out, and these spaces in each room had such a clear definition of what it wanted to be, and that's what we fell in love with, and we were able to see past the disrepair. We are in our living room, which is, I would say, the second part of the home. It's TV time, it's cocktail time, and it's really just a place to sit and enjoy it. And I think we love stocking the bookshelves with these strange little curiosities that you can just sit down and let yourself get lost in. Lots of things that I love here, and I think it really shows our love of mixing high and low, both with antiques and contemporary pieces. I think for starters, this rug is sort of the perfect example of that. I found this amazing rug guy on eBay who has an incredible assortment of old rugs, and they're super affordable.
Is there a serpent theme I'm also seeing?
Yeah, it's kind of like snuck its way in, to be honest. I've got the serpent lamp, which is this amazing House of Hackney lamp that I found in Chicago. When I was traveling a lot for work, I would try to pick up a piece for the house everywhere I was, so that came from Chicago. Another thing I love about this room is all of the wood storage in here. Initially, we were thinking of putting doors on it and kind of hiding it. It is kind of this amazing focal point of telling people how we live before we even open our mouths, and I think that helps set the tone for how cozy we want you to feel when you're here. Okay, here we are in the dining room, which I love. We usually only eat here when we're entertaining, but overall, the aesthetic of this room is kind of, I don't know, I guess most people would say it could be a little strange. We've got these really amazing frescoes that are hand painted onto the wall. They're signed by Maria something in 1948, and they're obviously a little cracked and the plaster's chipping off, but I love them, and we wanted to do everything we could to not only save them, but make sure we could preserve them and keep them with the house for as long as possible. And then we kind of just based the rest of the aesthetic around that. And then, there are a lot of little fun touches throughout the room, and everything has a story. For example, this portrait, which we found at an antique mall in Vermont, I believe, is of a bank robber from my hometown in Warwick, Rhode Island, which is just kind of a crazy connection, and we have been dying for an oil portrait, so that was a no-brainer. And then kind of as we swing through the room, we've got other little conversation pieces that help keep the dinner conversation flowing. I think one of the biggest is our taxidermy emu, which I found in Portland and had never seen a taxidermy emu before. And apparently, I didn't know this, but emus mate for life, and this emu's mate had died, and he tried to throw himself in front of a car and got hurt and then ended up dying, and the owner wanted to have him taxidermy to preserve it and kind of save that story.
It was quite a story.
Quite a story. And now we're in the kitchen, which, like all homes pretty much, is really the central part of the house, but it was also the biggest project we've had. So originally it had great hardwood floors that we loved, but they were so old and so warped that we had to replace them. They really just weren't safe at that point. The beams had to stay, obviously. They're such a critical detail of the house, and I think it kind of gave us this spring pad for what we wanted the rest of the kitchen to feel like. And then with the islands, you know, we wanted islands that felt great for entertaining and cooking, and we had to work with the layout that we had. So there were islands here. We extended the size of this island to get more of an overhang for a bar top, and also made it a little bit wider. So we found this beautiful leather finish granite, which means that it's not as buff as other granites, and you can feel the ridges of the stone, which I love. The fridge in here is kind of crazy. So the fridge is actually hidden behind this door, and it opens into the fridge, which is strange because on the other side of the kitchen, we have what I thought was an amazing set of built-ins, when in reality, they are cabinets that lead to nowhere. This is kind of our main eating area, especially for breakfast. But we've got this couch, and a lot of people ask us, oh, like, why do you have a couch in your kitchen? But in the morning, coming down here and like plopping down with a cup of coffee and a newspaper and watching the chickens kind of roam around outside, it feels like a hug, and I love that. And I love when our guests kind of come down and naturally do the same thing. To me, that's a good sign of a well laid out room. And then in my collection of wicker baskets, which kind of came to me in a fever dream, and I was like, we need wicker, it'll fill this space perfectly. But what I love is I use it a lot. So bread baskets, collecting eggs from the coop, but also it's sort of like a go-to hostess gift. I can grab a basket, throw some flowers in it from the garden, throw some eggs in there, and I'm kind of done. And it's great. And they're, you know, $5 to $10 each at a local antique shop. Here we are in our bedroom, which coming from a New York City apartment felt cavernous and pretty overwhelming in terms of how we were actually going to fill this space in a way that felt cozy and warm and exactly how you want a bedroom to feel. So this, to me at least, feels like the most contemporary room in the house. We've got this low bed that the dogs love because it's easy to get on. This is a piece from an artist that Mark used to work with when he owned a gallery in Boston. And there are just touches of, again, really contemporary art throughout the space. But what I love is you can still see all of those sort of trappings of an old house. You know, we still have the beams. And then I think over here even you can see the seam where the floor just totally slopes downwards. So it's not perfect, and I love that about it. So this is the room that really stole my heart. We were looking at the house, not in a great mood that day, but we came in here and this wallpaper really just, I fell in love with it. And it's wallpaper that's original to the house, or at least, you know, original to several owners before us. And it's wallpaper that we would have bought to put back on the wall. And I think it was that moment that I was like, okay, this is the house for us, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. So these chairs are some of my favorite pieces that we actually own. I was out here with friends one weekend, and we were antiquing, and I saw them and I was like, God, these are nuts. Like, they're kind of nuts in the best possible way though. But they were a little bit on the border of like, okay, these could be bad. So I didn't buy them. The next weekend, Mark was out here by himself, and I almost told him to go buy these chairs because I couldn't stop thinking about them. And then the following weekend, we were finally back out here together, and he was like, oh, go upstairs. I found these crazy chairs. You're going to love them. And I walked in the room and these chairs were here, and we had never spoken about them, but we both kind of fell in love with them in the same strange way. We have a lot of artwork in here, a lot of portraits. Almost all of the artwork in here, and I'm gonna say actually all of them, are portraits of women, and the only men in this room are right over here, and they are these kind of court jester figures, which I love that idea. For whatever reason, it's a room that really celebrates women, and at first I was like, oh God, we're making the pink room about women. That's a little cliche, but it kind of feels right, and it kind of feels like every matriarch that's ever lived in this house before probably loved this room. So we are now in what's kind of become a makeshift studio for shipping my pots out, for starting seedlings, and for raising our baby chicks right now. So these chicks are our third batch of chicks that we had. They don't have individual names yet, but conceptually I want to name them all after accused witches of Salem.
I had no idea that chickens liked watermelon.
They love it. It's kind of crazy. Watermelon, grapes, anything from the kitchen. The chickens live in a coop that was designed by Mark. It was really meant to look like an old English garden folly that felt special and structural and not really like a chicken coop. So we've got the one coop here where the first 10 live, and the 12 baby chicks that you saw upstairs will inhabit the new coop when it's done next week. We've got, let's see, we've got 3 eggs in here. We also have a decoy egg in each nest box, which helps the chicks know where they should be laying and where the eggs belong and where they don't belong. Today's haul is we've got 7. And you'll see every hen lays a different egg. So we've got a green one, a white one, sort of brown speckled one, and a few varying shades of brown, and almost a pinkish one.
What do you love most about this house?
The thing I love most about this house is that it feels like ours, to be honest. I think there are a lot of beautiful houses in the world, and there are a lot of houses that are much more expensive than this one, but this truly feels perfect for us, and then genuinely every room feels like what it wants to be in my eyes, and I think that's sort of invaluable.
Click here to watch another amazing home tour and be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy.